artist. This week we are going to draw the American flag. In November, we celebrate Veterans Day and honor the people who have served our country or are currently serving our country. And a great way to do that is to draw the flag to represent our country and freedom. Instead of just drawing the flag straight on, with red, white, and blue and the stars, we're going to make it look like it's swaying. So we're still going to include our three colors of red, white, and blue, but I'm going to make it look like it's waving in the air, blowing in the wind. So I'm going to show you how to do that, and then I'm going to let you color it in using colored pencils or crayons. Okay, so for this project, you'll just need a white piece of paper, a pencil to start, and a ruler to start. We'll do the drawing and then we will add our color. So in order to do this drawing today, I'm going to have you put your paper horizontal, and then I'm going to use a ruler. You don't have to use a ruler. You could just draw a straight line. That's fine too, but I'm going to put it at an angle, and again at another angle. Now, you can do that with the pointed part. It's not totally at a point at the very bottom, or you could do the top. It's really your preference. I'm going to be working backwards so you can see it on my video. To start off on the first section, I want you to think about when we did the spider webs a few weeks ago and how this is going to look a little bit similar with the lines. So just watch me. Hopefully you can see it with my pencil. I do want you to use a pencil for the beginning, and then we will add other colors. So in the first section here, this is going to be the blue part of my flag. Now, you'll understand in a little bit that the whole thing isn't going to show because it's going to look like it's blowing in the wind. So I am going to come down a little bit about halfway, and I'm actually going to make it go at an arch or an arc like that. Then on this part, where that line is, I'm going to go the opposite way and make my arc go like that. And then I'm going to do it here as well. This is where it might look a little familiar to when we did the spider web, but this time our arches, our arcs are going in different directions. Okay, then keeping with this pattern on the rest of it down below, we're going to follow it, but this time we're going to keep them about an inch or so. I'm not going to measure it. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to follow along those lines. Now, an American flag has 13 stripes and a blue area with 50 stars. For our drawing, and again, because it is blowing in the wind, you do not have to have those precise numbers because it might not all show in our image. And at the very bottom line, I'm only going to show part of it. So this is not all going to fit. Okay, I know it's probably hard to see, but it'll make sense in a little bit. Now for the top part here, I still want to keep this section solid because that's going to be where my stars and my blue area is. But these next two sections, I'm going to keep with my pattern of lines, and I'm going to finish that off. My stripes. Oops. Okay, so it looks something kind of like this. All right. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use today colored pencils. You can use what you have. I think these are going to look nice, so I'm going to get out my red. Now, keeping in mind that I have white on there, so I'm going to leave the white alone. I'm not going to use a white colored pencil. I am going to use black, and you'll understand in a little bit why. and then blue. In this section here, where I'm going to have my stars, I'm going to go ahead and start to draw some of my stars. Now, stars can be tricky. They don't have to be perfect. If you really have trouble with them, you could just make them look like more like a sun shining with the rays. It's up to you on how you want to do that. I'm going a little fast here for this, so again, I'm not going to draw 50 stars. But the idea is implied. Okay, that's kind of fast. Now, the reason I did that ahead of time is because I'm going to color all of this blue eventually. Before I get started though, I'm going to show you how to make this look a little bit more formed, which we've talked about last week. When we talked about form, we're going to use value and by using light and dark with our colored pencils. And again, you can achieve the same thing when you, if you use crayons. That totally works. So I'm going to, on this stripe here, turn this red. And so what I'm going to do is right along the very edge of this, I'm going to color it a little bit darker than I would on the rest of it. And then I'm slowly going to get a little lighter as I get to the top of my arc here. It's going to make it look a little reflective. It might even be almost so light that it's almost white. Going in the same direction when I color to make it look neat. And then again, as I go towards the edge, I'm going to go darker again. You can always go back and lighten parts of it or make it blend easier as you go, but you don't want to start off going really, really dark with it. So as you can see, this is going to look a little bit like it's darker, like a shadow on the edges, but as it comes forward on the arc, it might be lighter to give it more of a three-dimensional look. Now, remember, this is one continuous stripe. So I have red here, so this one needs to be red. You're really going to have to think about it before you start to color to make sure that you're not going every other with this horizontal row. So I'm going to go darker here, a little lighter. Let's start darker on this edge and meet in the middle. Pushing a little harder where I want it darker, and then getting lighter and lighter as I go. Then I'm going to blend it in just a little bit. You can always go back at the very end and do more. But the darkest part is going to be where that line would fold, implying that there's a shadow or not as much light. And then again here, this is red. Right by that line, I'm going to go darker. And lighten it up and darker yet still on the edges. Okay, so I went ahead and finished coloring my red stripes. Again, I'm probably going to go back at the end though and make it go a little bit smoother with my transition. But for now, I'm going to stop right there, and I've got every other red stripe, and then I've got my white. Now for the white, we want to obviously keep it white, but we want to give it a little bit of shadow where it would then the ruffle or the next arc would be. So we're going to use black. If you have a gray colored pencil or crayon, you could do that as well. But the key with this is to go very, very lightly because we only want to give it a little bit of a shadow. Now I've decided on mine that I am going to outline right here the line. I'm going to give it a little bit of a dark shadow here. It's easier to add on, but it's harder to take it away. So I'm going to go very, very slowly with this and just give it an applied shadow on the very edges where the fabric of the flag would be going in another direction. To make it neat, I'm also going to use my black here to just really carefully go over the pencil marks. Now you can do this with the red or the black. I've just decided I want to use the black. So I went ahead with my white and I did it a little darker near the folds. I missed that one. And then I also, like I said earlier, made the decision to use my black colored pencil and I went over all the pencil marks to give it more definition. Now with this though, you want to be really careful because if you do too much of the black, or even if you're using gray, you don't want, it might give the impression that it looks, instead of a white stripe, it would look like a gray stripe, and that's not what we want. We want the flag to definitely have the white stripe. So I only did very little on that. I didn't do as much shadowing as I did on the red. All right, also with this whole same idea with the shadows along the border here, when I add my blue, I'm going to make it darker. This part's a little tricky because you want to make sure that you leave space for your white stars before you color because you're not going to be able to go back and do that. So I'm actually going to go over some of my stars so I definitely remember not to color in there. What's nice too about this is the fact that our flag is going in and out, like it's blowing in the breeze. The stars might not look perfectly symmetrical. So when you draw them, they don't have to be perfect. So this would all be blue, but again, with the same idea that we've been going with is that it's going to be darker along the crease or where it would fold as a shadow. Lighter through this middle part here where it might be reflecting some light coming closer to you. And darker yet along the very edge. I'm going a little fast right here because I don't want to take up all your time. Now also what you can try to do if you want to try to blend it better, you can buy things that are called blenders. But you can also take a tissue or a Kleenex and gently rub in the center here and it will keep it blending a little bit better. Now if you're using a colored pencil, you also can add highlights fairly easy if you think it's not light enough in the very center or want to give it a little highlight. You can always take your eraser and very lightly erase part of that and it'll look like a light streak in the very edge. But again, blending is what you really want to focus on. You want it to make it look natural, lighter, and then darker. I'm just kind of erasing that. Now you won't be able to erase it if you have a crayon, but that's okay. And I'm going to go ahead at the very end and spend a little bit more time just making it blend a little better. But for now, here is my flag that looks like it's blowing in the breeze because I've added dark tones and I've added a lighter value where it would be coming in and out and almost so it looks a little bit three-dimensional. So I'm showing space and form by using value when I color.